Hey guys, and welcome back to another Mention 4 tutorial. In today's video I'm going to be going over how to save and load if an actor has been destroyed. So you might have it so you've destroyed an actor, so you've killed an enemy, or you've cut down a tree, or you've picked something up. You leave the game, you go back in, and it's back. And you don't want that to happen. Once you've destroyed it, you want it to stay destroyed. So I'm going to be going over how to do that today. So now I've actually got this from a thread on the Unreal forums, and the original answer was by ScottSpadea. Sorry if I've botched your name there, but this is also from 2016, so it's quite a while ago. However, there's no video tutorials on this, and it actually came up because someone in my Discord server asked how to do it, and because obviously it's quite a long explanation, I sent them that link, but it can be a bit confusing to understand if you're a beginner into it or anything, and I needed to get into it and test it all out to properly understand it all. So I'm going to be making a video tutorial on it today, and again I'll link the original thread in the description down below, so go check that out as well. But I'll show you what we're going to make today. So I get in, well, you saw one destroyed there, so actually let me delete the save game 1 second. So I've just deleted the save game, so if we test this out again, we get in, nothing happens. I go over, I pick up this item, I save the game. If I come back out, it's going to load, the item is now gone. If I pick up this one as well, save the game, leave, go back in, both of those are gone. And if I pick up all of them, save the game, and leave, go back in, all of them are gone as it is saving us, picking them up. Now you can see there's a split second where they are on screen and then they disappear. That's just because it's having to load the game, check to see if they need to be destroyed, and then destroy them. So obviously if you want to avoid that, you can just put in a tiny loading screen to avoid seeing that, or they might not actually be in plain sight of the player straight away anyway. So this is what we're going to make today. So again, credit to Scott, thank you for this incredible answer. It's a very efficient and good technique, so I'm just going to be using his answer and a little bit of my own mixed into it as well to make it a bit more up to date and efficient with the newer engines, since this is 4 or 5 years ago now. But again, big credit to you, so thank you. I'm going to be showing you how to do that now today. So without further ado, let me open up a new project and get right into it. So once we're here, I've already got my item BP here, and all it is simply just if I walk into it, it's going to pick it up by destroying the actor there. So the first step we want to do is we want to create something called a game instance. And so to do that, I'm going to do it all in this one folder. And to create it, we're going to right click, go to Blueprint Class, we're going to open the all classes here, and then search for a game instance there, selecting game instance, hitting select, and I'm going to name this one my game instance. You can name this absolutely whatever you like, and we're going to open it up straight away. Now obviously if you already have one, you can do all the code in there, just we need a new game instance for us to be able to use. Again, if you already have a new one, use that. In here, we're going to create a variable, so hit the plus variable there, and we're going to name this destroyed actors. We're going to change it from a boolean to be a name variable, and then we're going to change it to be an array. So click the little dash there, and we're going to change it to be an array, so a 3x3 grid. Compile that, and now you can see we can put multiple items in here to see which actors we have already destroyed. So now what we're going to do is we're going to right click and add a custom event. And I'm going to name this one destroy item. Scott named it collect persistent item because they were doing a collection system. But I'm going to name it destroy item as that makes more sense for me. And out of this, what we want to do is we want to add unique. Now you can see we don't have any values to go in there. So in here you can see a 3x3 grid. That's going to be our destroyed actors array. So we're going to be adding a unique value to our array of the destroyed actors. So this is now asking for a name into this. So if we drag out of that onto our custom event, it's going to add a pin onto that. If we select our custom event, we can change the name of this to be item ID or actor ID or anything like that. And that is just essentially the name of the actor we're destroying that we want to put into the destroy actors here. So we're going to compile and save that. And now we're going to create a function in here as well. So we hit the plus function here. I'm going to name this one check if already destroyed. And as it sounds, it's going to check to see if we've already destroyed a certain actor, which we are spawning into the game. So out of this, what we're going to do is again, get our destroyed actors array that we've made there. Out of this, we're going to get a find item, connecting the item there into the start node of our function. And again, I'm going to rename this to be item ID. So we are searching for the item ID in the array. Out of the integer value of this, we're going to get a greater than integer. So an integer is greater than an integer, and we're going to set it to be 1. And then what we're going to do is we're going to come out of the check if already destroyed start function. We're going to get a return node, and we're going to drag out the boolean of that greater than into the return node, and I'm going to name this one destroyed already. So if the integer is greater than 1, we have already destroyed it. If it's not, we haven't already destroyed it. And if we haven't already destroyed it, then we don't want to destroy it on loading the game. So what we can do is we can compile and save that. That is technically all we need to do in the game instance. However, I'm going to keep open as this is quite a large project. It can be quite confusing, so it's always good to keep it open until we're done with it. One thing we do need to do though is go to Edit, Project Settings. Once it loads, we're going to go to Maps and Modes, and at the bottom, we're going to change the game instance class to be My Game Instance, or whatever you've just named it. And that just means that the game is going to actually use this new game instance we've just created. So again, if you already have one in there that you are using, then use that one. But I wasn't using the game instance there, so there's nothing in it, so I made a new one to be able to use called My Game Instance there. And then we can close the project settings like so, and also minimize our game instance as, like I say, we are done with that. Next up, we're going to open up our pickup item BP, or whatever it is you're destroying. So if this is an item BP, a gun, you're cutting down a tree, anything along those lines, just open up that item. And this can be multiple blueprints as well. It doesn't just have to be one, so it can be a gun, and it can also be a chest or anything like that. But I'm going to do it in this one specific blueprint named item BP here, just as an example. What we want to do is we want to come down underneath our code, and hold down P and left click to get event begin play. If you've already used the event begin play, then you can go to that. And if you have already used it, then hold down S and left click to get a sequence, connecting that into there, and then 0 into the code you already have, then 1 into this code. I don't have any code, so I don't need it. After this, we're going to hold down D, left click to get a delay. I'm going to leave the duration as 0.2, but you can increase this if you need to. So what we're doing here is we're just allowing the game enough time to actually be able to load the game before checking if we need to destroy it, because we need to be able to load the save before checking it. So the larger the game, the longer this duration will need to be. However, 0.2 is good for me, and it probably will be for quite a while as well. But if it doesn't work, the first thing you can do is just increase this duration and see if it then does work. After this, we're going to cast to the game instance we just made. So I named mine My Game Instance. The object for this is going to be get game instance, like so. And as My Game Instance, what we're going to do is we're going to call that function that we created. So I named it check if already destroyed. Like it says, we're going to check to see if this item we are currently in has already been destroyed. So to do that, we need to put in item ID in here. So what we're going to do is we're going to right click the item ID, promote it to a variable, and name this one actor ID like so. We're going to compile. I'm going to change the default value of this to be actor ID, and then we're also going to tick instance editable. So that means that however many blueprints we place down, each one can have a different actor ID, which is obviously what we want. So the first one we place down will have actor ID 1, the second one will be actor ID 2, and so on and so forth, so that each one is independent in its own right, depending on whether it's been destroyed or not. And out of the destroyed already, we're going to hold down B, left click to get a branch, with the condition being that boolean there. Because obviously if we have already destroyed it, we want to destroy it again. So out of true, we're going to get a destroy actor, like so, and false do nothing, because when we begin the game, we're going to see if we've already picked up this item. If we have, we'll do it again. If we haven't, we won't do anything. And so that will then work perfectly. What we also want to do is set up code for picking it up. So we have this code here, you can leave that there. What I'm also going to do is right click under here, get another custom event, or just get a custom event, sorry, not another one. And I'm going to name this one pickup. You can name this again, whatever you like. Out of this, I'm going to cast to the game instance again, so I'll just copy this. Cast to my game instance with the object as get game instance. And as my game instance, what we're going to do this time is not check if already destroyed. We're going to get the other custom event which we made, which I named destroy item, like so. Item ID is again going to be our actor ID we created in this blueprint. So now it's going to pick it up and then also destroy it if we need to. And so to fire off this pickup code, I'm going to place this in up here. So this is where I'm picking it up just by walking into it. What I'm going to do is just before we destroy the item, I'm going to pick up. So call the custom event I just made, named pickup, like so. Very simple. Compile and save that, and that's all we need to do in here. So again, it's going to pick it up and tell the code that we have picked up and we have destroyed it. And then the next time we load up the game, it's going to see if we have already destroyed it. And if we have, it will get rid of it, so it will destroy it again, so that we don't know it's there. So we're going to compile and save that, like I say, and I will close this one, as that is all we need to do in there. I know that one is right. I know the game instance is right as well, but again, I'm going to keep it open. What we want to do next is we want to create a save game. So this way we can actually save and load whether or not we've destroyed it or not. So I'm going to right click in the content browser, go back to Blueprint class again, and in the all classes, I'm once again going to search, this time searching for a save game like so. I'm going to select that. I'm going to name this one DA save game for destroyed actor save game. You can name this absolutely whatever you like, and you can just put this in one whole generic save game, which would make more sense, and that would be better for you to do. So I'll actually just give this a more generic name, actually, so I'll name it my save game, like so. Don't just name it save game, as that will confuse you later on, as there is something else just named save game as well. But my save game works for me, that's what I'm going to name it, and that works perfectly. So then we're going to open that up straight away, or again, if you already have a save game, then open that up. In here, we're going to hit a plus variable again. I'm just going to name this one destroyed actors, the same way we did before. And again, like we did before, I'm going to change it from a boolean to a name and to an array as well. Compile and save, and that is literally all we need to do in the save game. It's very simple. We just need to create somewhere in which we can store the actors that we've already destroyed. So I'm going to close that, as that's all we need to do. I can minimize this again, and now we need to create a player controller. Again, if you already have a new player controller, use that, but I'm going to create one. So I'm going to right click, go to Blueprint class once again, and again in the all classes, we're going to search for player controller, selecting that, and I'm going to name this one my player controller, and opening that up straight away. Again, if you've already got one, use that, and we're going to go to the event graph. I'm going to delete the event tick, but use the event begin play, and out of that, I'm going to cast to my game instance, with the object obviously being get game instance like so. And out of this, what I'm going to do is right click, promote to variable, and I'm going to name this one game instance ref like so. So we have a reference to our game instance, because that is where we're storing the destroyed actors variable, an array that we have there, because that is where we're storing all of the actors we've destroyed. So back here, I'm going to compile and save, and in here is where we're going to do the code for saving and loading the game. So what I'm going to do is right click, add a custom event, naming this one save game. Out of this, I'm going to get a does save game exist with whatever slot name you want. So I'm just going to right click, promote that to a variable, naming this slot name like so. And I'm going to compile that and change its default value to be save1, as I want the slot name to be save1, but you can put this again as absolutely whatever you like. But that makes sense for me, and I'm doing it in a variable, because that way we know that we can use this multiple times wherever we need it, with the name being the exact same, and if we want to change it, we can just change this variable. Out of this, we're going to hold down B, left click to get a branch, connecting the condition into the return value there. And this is obviously, if the save game does exist, it will be true. If it doesn't, it will be false. So if it does exist, what we're going to do is load game from slot, with the slot name being that slot name variable we've just made. The return value of this, we want to cast to our save game we just made, which I named my save game like so. And as my save game, what we're going to do is right click, promote to variable, naming it save game ref like so. So now we also have a reference to our save game. Out of false of this branch, so if the save game doesn't exist, we want to create a save game. So we're going to come out of this and create save game object like so, with the save game class being our save game that we created, which for me is my save game like that. And again, we're just going to select the cast and the set reference there and duplicate that down here, as we want to do the same thing. So we're going to cast to our save game and then create the save game reference there as well, like that. Now just after this, what we want to do is we want to get our game instance reference that we made, so get game instance ref. And out of this, we want to get destroyed actors. So we're getting the list of actors that we have, and we want to set this in our save game. So I'm going to move this down here, and we want to get our save game reference here, so get save game ref. Out of that, we're going to set destroyed actors, and we're going to set this to be the destroyed actors from our game instance. So we're setting the list in the save game to be what we have in our game instance as well, so that they are then up to date. We're saving what we've destroyed. Out of the save game ref again, what we're going to do is save game to slot, so we're saving it. So we put it in the save game, now we also want to save the game. And the slot name will again be that slot name variable that we made earlier. And then just connect this set into both of these set save game references there, like so. I'll just put that in the middle like this, and this should now work perfectly for us in saving the game. So it's going to save the game, with the list of actors that we have already destroyed. So we can compile and save that. And what I'll do is I will comment that. So select it and hit C. I'm just going to name this save list of destroyed actors, like so. And now let's set up loading it. So we've got saving it, now we need to load it as well. So what we're going to do is just underneath this, I'm going to right click, add a custom event, naming this one load game, like that. And out of this, what I'm going to do is get an isValid node with the question mark in front of it. The input object is going to be our game instance reference there. Because what it's going to do is it's going to fire this code off just before we actually create the save game reference here. So there'll be a split second where it doesn't work, which will just give us an error and also break the code. So we just want to see if it's valid first. If it is valid, we want to do the code. If it's not, we want to check again, because the next time we check, it probably will be valid. So out of is not valid, we're going to get a delay. I'll leave the duration as 0.2. Completed will go back in the execution like that. I'll just put it underneath there to make a loop. So essentially, if it isn't valid, it's going to check to see if it is. And now, yes, that will do it every single time until it is valid, but the way we're doing it is we're going to load the game as soon as we load it up, as soon as we hit play. So we want to be able to load it, so we want to be constantly checking because we want to load it. If it is constantly checking and it doesn't load, then obviously something else in the game has gone wrong, and you'd want the player to restart, and the player would restart because they're going to be confused as to why they've lost all their progress. So that is why we're doing this, just to make sure that the game does actually load. Out of is valid, so once we can load it, we're going to get a load game from slot. The slot name is going to be, again, that variable that we made earlier. So this is why it's helpful to have that variable, because it just goes in all of them, making sure we spelled it correctly, and we can change it very easily later on. The return value we're going to cast to my save game 1, or again just your save game, and as my save game, we're going to again set that to be the save game reference there. So now we're going to be loading this straight away, so there will be a first time where we load it before the player is saved. So what's going to happen is it will just come out cast failed. It will try to load the save, but it won't, so it will come out cast failed, and nothing will happen, which is perfectly fine as that's what we want. Then out of this set save game reference here, we're going to get destroyed actors, and now instead of setting the save game from our game instance, we're going to set the game instance from our save game. So we'll get game instance ref again, and this time set destroyed actors, connecting that into there, and the destroyed actors list array will be that one there. So up here in saving, like I say, we're saving the destroyed actors from the game instance into the save game. Now when we're loading, we want to get the saved actors from the save game, putting it back into our game instance reference, like this. And that should be that part done. It's very simple to load it. So I'm going to select this, hit C to comment it, naming this load destroyed actors, like so. Compile and save that. And that should be saving and loading done. So what we're going to do now is minimize this, because like I say, this is saving and loading. So we're going to minimize this, go to the world settings of our level, and if you don't have that, you can go to window and then click world settings. It should take you to it. And we're just going to change the player controller class to be that new player controller we just made, which I named it my player controller. Again, if you already have your player controller in there, then that's fine. Then what we're going to do is make it so that we load these actors when we load up the level. So I'm going to go to blueprints and open level blueprint. And then I'm going to hold down P, left click to get the event begin play node. Again, if you've already used it, get the sequence that I went over earlier. Out of this, we're going to simply cast to my player controller with the object as get player controller, like so. And as my player controller, we're going to simply just call the function load game that we've just set up and created here. So it's going to load the game and get all the destroyed actors which we already have. So we compile and save that. And now this is the code done. So what I'm going to do is just set up a function in which I can save the game. So you'll probably have this set up already, so you can do this in a menu. When the player presses quit, before it actually closes the game, it will save it. And if you want tutorials on that, then just let me know in the comments down below. But what I'm going to do for the moment is just on a button press. So I'm going to open up my character blueprint, which if I just select my character there and press edit third person BP, what I'm going to do is just find some space, get a one keyboard event, as this is just for testing purposes. Now pressed, I'm going to cast to my player controller, the object as get player controller there, and then as my player controller, I'm going to simply save game, like so. And now this should be the code done. So if we compile and save that, we can hit play to test this out. Well, firstly we need to put in the items. So I'm going to drag in item BP there, go to details, drag another one in, drag another one in, and I'll get 4 to test this one out. So I get 4 there. I'm going to select one of them. You see we have actor ID. I'm going to set this one to be actor ID 1, this one to be actor ID 2, this one actor ID 3, and this one actor ID 4. Now they're all different. So they're all different in their own rights. So if we destroy one, that is the only one which will be destroyed. Now that can be quite tedious if you have a lot in the game already. So if you want, I can look into better and more efficient ways of doing it, probably via just accessing the actual name of the blueprint as well, instead of us having to put it in. So again, let me know if you want something along those lines and I can look into it. But let's hit play to test this out. So if we go in and we pick one up here, if we go out and go back in, nothing should happen. That's great because we didn't save the game. But if I go in, pick that up, hit 1 to save the game, we come back out and go in, that one did appear again. So there is something wrong. It didn't work first try. To be honest, I didn't really expect it to because it's quite a big bit of code. So let's have a look at why that happened. So I've just found the error. Luckily it was quite easy to find very quick. In our my game instance, in our function of check if already destroyed, what I did was I put greater than 1. This is wrong. It needs to be greater than -1. So I put greater than -1 there, not 1. This should now work better for us. So if we compile and save, we can hit play to test this again. Well, there you go, perfectly. If we load it in, it's not there. Because we already saved it, we load in, it doesn't appear. If I pick another 2 up, and then save the game again by pressing 1, we quit, we go back in, they're not appearing, so that works perfectly. Again, that was one very easy mistake to make, but I also noticed it straight away, which is also perfect. So now if I also pick all of these up, so I pick that final one up as well, press 1 to save, go back in, these have all disappeared as they've saved that we've destroyed them. Now I'm just going to delete the save game, and if you're wondering how to do that, by the way, all you do is you go to where your project is saved. So I'm going to go to horror that I have here, go to saved, go to save games, and you can just delete which one you named it. I believe it was save 1. Those other ones are just from previous tutorials. Now if I hit play, they have all appeared because I've deleted the save game. Now if I pick up one of them, let's pick this one up, press 1 to save it, that should have created the save game, sorry. Hit play, that has now disappeared, it's no longer there, so this works perfectly. So I think that'll be it for this video, as we've done everything we want to do. We've set up a system in which we can save whether or not we've destroyed an actor already. So you see I've picked 2 up, I've saved the game, I go back in and they have been destroyed, they are no longer there, which works perfectly for us. Great little system, which again was originally come up with by Scott. I've just put a video onto it because nobody else had done that and it was quite confusing for beginners, and I've also just improved it a little bit to update it for the newer engine 4 to 5 years later. So thanks so much for watching, I hope you enjoyed and I hope you found it helpful, and if you did, make sure to like and subscribe down below. So thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.